Continuing on with the many Carrie Stevens patterns that I've been tying, this is the Morning Glory by Carrie Stevens. Very bright fly with the bright yellow and the red in the shoulders here. It's an interesting fly. It has a two-tone throat to it. There's not many. She has a number of patterns that have that, but not a whole lot of them. But it's just very bright and fun fly. So that's Carrie Stevens Morning Glory. I get started tying. I'm going to start the Morning Glory with my hook and the vise. This is a Partridge CS15 in a size 4. Debarb that hook. I'm going to begin with a white thread because I have a red floss body using a UTC Ultra Thread 210 Denier in white. Attach my thread a little bit behind the eye of the hook. Advance my thread down the hook shank, touching turns, just to provide a base layer of thread. And I'm going to stop my thread just at the beginning of the tip. The tip is silver tinsel. I'm using a Danville silver and Mylar tinsel, silver and gold Mylar tinsel in a size 10. Now, in the past, this has no tail, and in other videos that I've done, similar flies of Carrie Stevens, I've shown you how you can tie in your tinsel for the tip and then apply the tip and the rib at the same time. You don't have to, because there's no tail, you don't have to put that in, tie the tail in, and then attach the rib. However, one thing I have noticed overdoing these a lot is you get these short little pieces of Mylar tinsel around, and this is a good application right here for these short little pieces I'm going to show you. A lot of times when people tie in the tip and rib on flies like this or wet flies, they'll do it as a separate step. And it's nice when there's no tail and you can just apply that tip and then go right into the rib. Just speeds it up a little bit. But like I said, you end up with these little pieces like this. Now, this is going to be a fishing fly. So I'm going to take some Dave's Flex Cement here and I'm going to apply just a drop to those thread wraps. And that is going to help to secure this tip on just a little bit, so that if in the process of fishing it and catching fish and so on, it breaks, hopefully it won't unravel. So I'll attach my hackle pliers to this and start to wrap up the tinsel, just touching turns. You can overlap just a little bit if you want. But as I said, this is a nice use for these small little snippets. I get some of that Flex Cement that oozes out. That's fine. I can wipe that off in a minute. It's not going to diminish the tinsel at all, and it will help to protect it while you're fishing it, make the fly last just a little bit longer. Certainly, if you prefer, oh, see now, I lost my thread control right there, and that Mylar tinsel slipped right back out. I've mentioned this in other videos that you have to be careful with the Mylar, because if you lose tension on it, it will slip out on you and loosen up in a heartbeat. It has a lot of memory to it. So I'm going to have to unwrap to a certain extent, not the whole thing, to get some of those gaps out. And that was just me not being quite as careful. My hand bumped the end of the hook shank right at the eye when I reached for the thread there, and I had taken off my hackle pliers. Just take your time with it. Now I can take off my hackle pliers and not bump the hook. Get in a couple, 2, 3 wraps to secure that, and I can trim away the excess. So with my tip all secured in there, I will take some more tinsel, 6 or 7 inches here, to tie in for the rib. The rib is also silver, so I'm going to tie this in with the gold side up. I'm going to pull this down towards my end just to secure that in place, a wrap to secure it. Now I'm going to tie in the body. The body is a red floss. I'm using a Danville 4-strand rayon in red. You want to make certain that you get a good 12, 13 inches of this, because it takes a lot to apply to this hook shank, and you don't want to run out. Now, I'm not going to run this all the way down to the end here, simply because this is going to be a fishing fly. So I'm going to just have enough in there that I can secure that real well. Now I'll wrap my thread forward, touching turns, nice and smooth, to smooth off that underbody so I can apply the floss and then the rib. With my thread all the way back up to the end here, I can now apply the floss for the body and then the rib to our Morning Glory. Body and the rib applied. See, now I have just a short little piece right here that can be used for another fly. The body and the rib attached, I can now attach my thread for finishing up for the head of it. Now, Morning Glory has a black head with a red band. I'm going to start with the red thread. That way it doesn't get dark. If I do a black head and then put the red band on, the red gets very, very dark. So you put a red head on there and just put the black bands on there to cover up just that red on the front and back of the head. And attach my thread, trim away the white and the tag. Now I'm ready to put in the belly. The belly on the Morning Glory is just some white bucktail. You want to choose some of the bucktail that's about halfway up the tail to the tip. This bucktail right here has less, it's not as thick as the bucktail hairs down at the bottom. And the hairs down here have more air pockets in them. It's spongier, so it tends to flare more. So you want to take it from about halfway up the tail to the tip. You can stack these if you want. I prefer not to. I like the taper in them. I'm going to tie that in just a little bit beyond the bend of the hook, pretty much about the same length as the wing, the tip of the wing. Now the throat on the Morning Glory is actually two-toned. It has some blue hackles and then some black hackles tied on. Because she tied often all of hers with 3 different clumps, I'm going to go ahead and get the blue tied in and then the black on top of it. You could take these and marry them together. So if you wanted to, you could take like a blue clump like this, take another black one, put those together, tie those in at the same time if you want to. About halfway down the body is the length of that. I prefer to tie them in separate. It just gives me a little bit more control. Get the last clump of black in here. By the way, that is blue and black schlappen that I'm using for this. So get that tied in. I like to bring the belly up underneath and kind of brace it, stroking some of that throat in a downward direction, just spreading that out just a little bit so it doesn't just stay all matted up against the underside there. I'm going to clean up the head space here. Got one stray barb here. This is a fishing fly, so understand if you're tying these and you run into a situation where, like this right here, I've got this one stray barb that you could use some tweezers and pluck out, but if you don't happen to catch it and see it, and then you finish the fly and it's kind of sticking out there, it's not really going to affect the fishability of the fly. I'm being more fastidious mostly for the video. Matter of fact, many well-known tyers will tie a lot of their flies that don't turn out quite right, are the ones they go fishing with. I'm going to clean this head space up a little bit, give myself a platform for my wing. Now the first part of the wing is actually silver pheasant. I don't have a silver pheasant crest. I have this is a golden pheasant crest dyed black. Silver pheasant crest, I have not been able to obtain any, and I'm still looking around. I want to tie that in, so it's going to be, the curve of this comes just down over the bend. I prefer to tie this in, bringing that up under the thread. You don't have to do it that way. You could just wrap over it if you want. But what I prefer to do is tie that long like this, bring the thread over. A lot of times you'll see, like right here, it's twisted up the other way around. You can easily, with just one wrap on it there, twist that back to the correct side. And then you can pull that a little bit to the right if you want to collect that all together. And now it's in the right position and the right length. A few extra wraps to secure that. And we can trim away the excess. Now I'm ready for my wing. Again, cleaning this up, smoothing this off for the wing. The wing on the Morning Glory is 4 yellow hackles. So there's 2 of them right here, side by side, yellow hackles, and a shoulder of a golden pheasant body feather, which is a reddish, brownish feather, and then a cheek jungle cock. I've already prepped those, so I'll bring those together, making certain my tips are all straight. Trim off the excess rachis, so I have a little bit of a handle, kind of like this. Then I'll tie those on each side. A few wraps to secure that down, and we'll take a look at it. I'll tie the second one on. Make certain that that's nice and vertical on the very, very top of the hook shank. The tips are even. They don't have to be absolute, but pretty close. Now I will clean up the head space with my red thread, building up a head on this, covering up all those butt ends, just giving a nice slope to it, evening it all out. I'm going to counterspin my bobbin here just to flatten that thread out a little bit. It gives me a little bit smoother base to the head. So here I'm making certain that I am covering up any underlying materials. I'm getting a nice uniform color and shape to the head, a nice uniform taper. Because this is essentially the head of the fly, I'll have the black bands in the back and the front of it just as accents. There we go. Again, I'm going to flatten the thread. And I'm going to do a whip finish by hand, just because it's a little bit easier for me. As I secure the red thread and then switch to the black. Now I'm going to switch to the black thread, which is a Danville 6/0 in black. And I'm going to attach this in the back side first. You want to divide the head into thirds pretty much, so that you have even black and red bands. Again, it's a fishing fly. I don't think it's critical that it, if you have one that ends up being a little wider or the red band's a little narrow. With that in place, I'll flatten my thread, put in a 4 or 5 turn whip finish, and then I'll reattach my thread up behind the eye of the hook. And once I finish this band up, I will apply some head cement. The fly tight that I use is a thin head cement. It's an alcohol-based head cement that will soak down real nicely into the head here, and it will secure all of the thread wraps and the whip finish and everything. However, I will put 1 or 2 coats of a clear lacquer on this. I'm not trying to build up a sheen as much as I want to make the head more durable. I'm going to let that soak in, and in a few minutes I'll come back and I'll put a coating of clear lacquer on that, but that will complete the Morning Glory. Very colorful fly. You can see why it's kind of named that, with the red golden pheasant in there and the yellow. Kind of has a little bit of starburst of effect to it. But that is the Morning Glory. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com, where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. But what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.